Hey there, and welcome to Connect the Dots Learning Center podcast. I'm Stephanie Wagers, your host, and I'm so glad you're here. Whether you're a seasoned therapist, clinic owner, or just starting out, this podcast is your go to spot for insights, tips, and stories that'll help you connect the dots in your practice. Hey, friends, welcome back to the podcast. Today, I'm sitting down with my coach, Greg Todd of Smart Success Healthcare. Greg is a powerhouse in the healthcare world. Greg is a powerhouse in the healthcare world. He's a physical therapist, entrepreneur, and business coach who's helped thousands of providers, myself included, build businesses that align with their life, not take it over. Greg's not just helping healthcare professionals grow, he's showing us how to reclaim our time, protect our health, and create impact without burnout. If you're a pediatric therapist, clinic owner, or feeling stuck in the endless cycle of trading time for money, this conversation is your wake-up call. Greg breaks down what leverage really means, why you're closer to freedom than you think, and the exact mindset shifts that change everything for him. Let's get into it. Welcome, Greg Todd. You are you're my coach and many others coach, and you are, I'm going to say husband first because I know that that's very important to you. A father of four, a PT, an entrepreneur, and just a coach. All these things. You created Smart Success Healthcare, and where you teach providers or health practitioners how to stop trading time for money. So, with that, can you just explain what that means? Because I think many of you who don't know you, that's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Well, thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate you having me on. Um, so what do I mean by not trading time for money? We all trade some time for money. I just believe that we should not exclusively trade all of our time for money because that sets a distinct cap on your life. Okay. Um, because of all the things you just said, my life as an entrepreneur is not my entire life. I value my relationships. I value my health. I value other aspects of my life that have nothing to do with clients. I love my clients. You know how much I love and
Yeah.
appreciate you, and you see. I mean, you've seen firsthand not just the way that I've treated you, but the way that I treat all of my clients, whether they are paid
Everybody.
clients or free people. I love all of them, and I really believe that I'm able to bring the level of energy, the level of care, the level of love because of how much I've invested in the other aspects of my life. And so in order to develop that, um, I need more time because I can't buy more time. I can't get more time. I can't ask God, can you give me 36 hours a day instead of 24? So
Right.
I've had to figure out, well, how do I decrease the amount of physical work time that I am using to be able to impact, influence people, and also make income? How do I do that so that I can increase more time with the other aspects of my life? So I can have a semblance of balance, if you want to say. I don't know if that's the right word, but basically, like what I've realized is that the way that I was taught as a physical therapist is I was taught that the way you're going to help people is being physically in front of them at all times. Okay.
Right.
Be physically in front of them. If you want to help more people, be physically in front of more people. And so
Right.
I went from working 8 hours a day to working 9 hours a day to working 10 hours a day to working 11 hours a day to working 12 hours to working sometimes 14, 15, 16-hour shifts. Like that's what I
Right.
did until my body said no more. And I realized that there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way because I'm literally about to die. I had 3 seizures in 4 days in
Wow.
2011, right? So it's like there's got to be a better way. There has to be another way to be able to impact and influence people. And so yes, I trade time for money, but I really believe in leverage. And I believe that if I am going to trade my physical time for money, it needs to be a very, very, very high sum. And I do that, Stephanie, specifically so that it will force me, because I want to help as many people as possible. It will force me to come up with more creative and inventive ways to help the people that I know I'm supposed to help. I know everybody can't pay $25,000 a day. I know that, but
Right.
by me setting that price at what it is, it forces me to have to find more creative ways to be able to help people and help them in a one-to-many format. So that's really what I mean by not exclusively trading time for money. And that is my mission, to help healthcare
Yeah.
providers do that.
Okay, awesome. Let's go back just a little bit because it sounds like you kind of hit rock bottom before you like said something's got to change here, right? You owned your own clinic
Mhm.
and
Yep.
yep. And so I know as a clinic owner, you know what that's like. You've been there, you're still doing it, you're a little bit removed from it, but you're still doing it. So what, obviously your health was a major trigger, but then you kind of get to the point of like, okay, now what?
Yeah.
What guided you to where you are today?
Yeah. So in 2005 is when I had my last full-time clinic director job. And
Mhm.
I realized at that time that, my marriage was struggling. And there was no abuse, there was no infidelity. It was just
Right.
basically just being absent, just
Yeah.
working a lot. I was working two jobs. I was working for an outpatient physical therapy center, and I was also working with with professional tennis players, privately. So I'd work
Mhm.
from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. and then take a break, get a sandwich, and go to a place called Saddlebrook Tennis Resorts and work sometimes from 9 to 12. And that's what I would do. And I'd work from 7 a.m. to midnight. And I would do that 3 to 4 times a week. And then other days I'd work just an 11-hour shift. And
Yeah.
and then sometimes I'd work half day on a Saturday. And that was not good for my marriage and my relationships. So
No.
so basically that is what moved me into saying, all right, I said to my wife, babe, look, I don't know any other way to do this unless we go and like do our own thing. And then at least I can see if I can figure out. I still don't know if I can do it, but we got a $180,000 line of credit loan on our house. And I went into business for myself. And I did that late 2005, early 2006. So that's basically what I did. When I went into business, I wish I could tell you guys that everything was great. No, everything was actually worse. It got worse because now I'm broke. Now I don't have a
Right.
paycheck. Now I've got $180,000 in debt, but it forced me to have to figure it out. What I did is I did what I just know, which is, all right, let me just find patients to treat. Let me see if beg doctors and beg other providers, send me people. And eventually it kind of worked out.
Mhm.
But if we fast forward to 2009, I started having health issues. I was trying to take care of my body. I was then got into running and started running marathons. And I'm building this clinic. Now I have two centers, and I've got maybe 14 employees between the two. And basically I ended up just running my body into the ground. I mean, Stephanie,
Yeah.
I was seeing anywhere between 18 to 28 patients a day. That's what I was seeing. Between there'd be weeks that we
Holy cow.
200 to 250 visits between me and my therapist. And that was just at one facility. The other facility we'd see about 130 to 150 visits a week. I have to be honest with you, I was making really good money. I was making
Yeah.
extremely good money, but my body was falling apart. And
Not worth
so
it.
yeah, and so if you've ever heard of the cash flow quadrant from Robert Kiyosaki, it's a really great book. If anybody hasn't read it, I'd highly advise you to read it. Super easy read, but it talks about where we all start. We all start in the employee box, right? An employee side of the quadrant, and then we move to self-employed. And we think that, hey, self-employed is going to give us freedom, but what it does is it gives you clinical freedom. Okay, it gives you clinical freedom to where if insurance companies say, hey, you can't do that, well, you can do something else. The insurance companies might not pay for it. More than likely, they're not. But you're not limited by what a corporation is telling you what you can or can't do. Okay, but
Right.
that's all it gives you. It just gives you clinical freedom, right? And then when I moved to self-employed to business owner, which I think is the hardest transition, right? Now you're having to not only take care of your clients and you have a job, but now you're trying to take care of staff and a team,
Mhm.
and there's no perfect manual for that, right? Dealing with
No.
people, this, that, da, 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 da. And then on top of it, you're trading time for money exclusively. Okay, watch what happens to your body. So for me, that's what happened. So it wasn't like, oh, I got a business and everything went where. No, I got a business and it all actually got worse. And then it got financially better, but it got physically worse. And then it
Yeah.
got emotionally a little bit better. And then it got like it's just that's what it is in business. So what my big breakthrough was when I started asking myself, okay, when I got sick and I started having the seizures, I started saying, okay, well, I can't work right now. I physically can't work. So what value can I give the company knowing that my hands and my legs are tied behind my back?
Right.
And when you start to ask yourself those questions, when you start to become physically useless, you become more mentally useful.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that when your body breaks down, it actually slows down so that your mind can actually speed up. And that's where I came up with all the stuff that I'm teaching you all, right?
Yeah.
So, well, wait a minute. I have somebody that's doing my billing and my collections and doing this and doing that. I was like, how hard is that to do? And then I realized that, wait a minute, well, since I can't treat, maybe I could do that. So I started doing that. I ended up firing that person. It's a way for me to keep my company alive, right? And then I said, okay, well, I have somebody that I'm paying to go out and go market. What if there's a different way to market, right? This is when your hands are tied behind your back and you can't move your legs. Then you start saying, wait a minute, I can do this, I can do that, I can do this. And then I started looking at my finances. It's like, wait a minute, I'm hiring somebody to do all this bookkeeping. And then I realized, holy crap, they're not even collecting all the money from Aetna, Cigna, Blue Cross Blue Shield. And I started realizing all these things, and all of this happened while I was on my bed. That's what happened.
Wow.
So I say that to people because that is what allowed me to then start to have a different set of skills. And when I had now this different set of skills, I became this purple unicorn. Okay. And then people started looking, wait a minute, this guy has another set of skills. He has skills beyond just being a good practitioner. And so it now allowed me to position myself in the marketplace as something unique. And that's what allowed me to be a consultant, not for you all. This is a consultant for EMR companies. This is a consultant for documentation, boards. This is a consultant for advanced PT, where I was now basically a blogger where people wanted me to review their apps. All that happened between all that time that I was down. It's because I developed a new skill set, and then my staff is the one that said to me, Greg, now that I got better, my staff's like, Greg, you have a skill set that they're not teaching us in school. Mm-hmm. And I had staff that were physical therapists that were going to flex DPT programs. And they're like, so why don't you start teaching this to the people that we're in school with? I'm like, sure, just tell your classmates to come by, and because they're all in flex DPT programs. So their programs are like on weekends. And they're like, yeah, but some of them live in Chicago, some of them live in South Carolina. They fly in for the weekends, right? And so I said, okay, well, what do you want me to do? They said, just do a video. We'll post it on YouTube. The rest is history. That's what happened.
Awesome. Okay, so how would you say, and you kind of talked a little bit about it, but how have your values changed from being a treating PT to kind of where you are now?
Yeah.
Or have they?
I mean, I don't know if my values have necessarily changed. I think what I do on a daily basis has. Mm-hmm. My values are pretty much my values. I try to live my life based off of biblical principles. I try to run my business based off of biblical principles. I try to lead with integrity, meaning that if I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And that's pretty much how I've built my personal brand, right? Okay. I don't think that's changed from 2005 to 2025. I don't think that's changed. I think what has changed is what I'm operating at and what skill sets I'm trying to cultivate on a weekly basis. So can I explain to you the value ladder and then just tell you what I was doing from when I started as a therapist to 2010, the first 10 years versus the last 15? Okay. Mm-hmm. So basically, what I have come to realize, and shout out to Myron Golden for initially teaching me this, but basically we get compensated based on the skill sets we are operating with, okay, and the skill level we're operating at. And there are 4 different levels of skill value. So the lowest level is implementation, which is what we were trained to do as physical therapists, occupational therapists, registered dietitians, chiropractors, MDs, right? And implementation is where we are actually doing the thing, right? And so you can get paid anywhere between minimum wage if you're working at a supermarket or you're working at a clothing store, all the way up to, $90, $100, $110,000 a year. You are doing the thing. So for those of us that are in allied health, we are typically doing evaluations and we're doing treatments. Okay. Yeah. Let's do anything. All right. The next level is unification. Unification happened for me in 2002. Unification is where you are managing over the people that are implementers. Okay. It is a very, very, very important job because the implementers, if they aren't handled correctly, can kill each other. Right.
Right. Right.
So there has to be somebody that does managerial work. So I became a physical therapist December 26th of 2000. I was a straight implementer from December 26, 2000 to February or March of 2001. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I got my yearly review. I got a 1.5% increase in pay. I was averaging 3.1 patients per hour, 25 patients per day, average for the year, while wearing suit and tie every single damn day. Okay. And so that's what I averaged. And I got a 1.5% increase in pay. I was making $19 an hour. I was just clearing $40,000 after my yearly review. Okay. By the way, it was life-changing because of the conversation I had with my boss. I was frustrated. I thought I was going to get a 4% increase in pay. But she said, in order for you to get that level, you have to be a manager. You got to be a clinical director. And that's called unification. So unifiers get paid usually on the low end, maybe $40,000, $50,000 if you're working as a manager at like Wendy's or Dunkin' Donuts, right? But you can get paid up to like $200,000, $250,000. I got paid $55,000 when I went from being an implementer to a unifier. Okay. Stephanie, I did that from December 26, 2000 to around January, February 2010. That was my main focus, being an implementer and a unifier. Those are the lower levels of skill work. Okay. They're capped. They're capped because they're not spiritual in nature. There's no scale to it. Okay. There's no scale to it. From 2010 to present day, I've been able to 250x my income and my net worth. And it has been primarily because I've just moved to these two higher levels of value that I'm going to talk about. That's communication and imagination. Okay. Communication is where I am conveying what it is that I'm thinking. Imagination is where I am now seeking for problems. I'm not avoiding problems. I'm not griping about problems. I'm actually happy when there's problems because that now gives me the opportunity to be a solutions provider. Okay. And so what I have done over the last 15 years is I have basically changed the amount of time that I'm operating in implementation and unification, which from 2000 to 2010 was about 80% of my time. 20% of my time was operating in communication and imagination. To 2010 to present day, I spend about 80 to 90% of my time doing communication and imagination work. And I only spend about 20% of my time doing unification and implementation work. If everybody just made that shift, everybody would minimum 2x or 3x their income.
Right.
But nobody wants to do it.
Why?
Because you're not good at it. Right? I mean, like right now, if a child with some special needs came into your practice today, okay, you could treat that child with your hands tied behind your back nearly, because you know exactly what to say. I mean, I've heard you, right? I've interviewed you before. You're so good at it, right? And so it's hard to go at so proficient at something that is capped in your ability to impact and create income to not being a novice at something that has the ability to change your life. It's just a hard thing for people to do. So most people don't want to go through that initial stage of being a beginner at anything. It's
uncomfortable. It's
just uncomfortable, but it's life-changing. It's life-changing because of the world we live in. And that's it really is the only it's the main change I've made. That's it. I force myself every single week, like little to no implementation. Okay. I'll do the unification, but it's only one meeting with my team. Okay. A couple conversations here and there throughout the week. I'll have some unification meetings with other people, but for the most part, everything I'm doing is communication and imagination. And I think if most people did that with the amount of problems we're having in healthcare today, their life would change forever.
Yeah. And change other people's lives too, because you can impact a bigger crowd.
100%.
So Obviously you've worked with thousands of healthcare practitioners. What have you learned, or what has been a surprising piece that you've learned from everybody?
Oh gosh. We are we are we are more alike than different.
Mm.
We are more alike than different. I don't know how many consultants are working with people outside of their professional circle. For
Mhm.
me, I think what's maybe unique about what I do is I initially started as smart success for physical therapists to now
Mhm.
19 different healthcare providers have been customers of mine, over 5,000 customers. And I can say that whether you're an RN, you're an RD, you're a PT, you're an OT, you're an MD, you're a Chiro, like pretty much it's all the same.
Yeah.
It really is. There's a few little nuances, here and there, but I
Right.
think it's probably the thing that, when I was treating as physical therapy, I'm like, no, 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 you don't understand my situation. No, it's pretty much the same. It's
Mhm.
pretty much the same. So I think that's one thing. I think the idolatry of titles. I think that I remember, and by the way, I didn't even catch this. It was me. I was being coached by somebody else, and this person said this to me. Said that for an educated guy, you're actually pretty easy to coach. I'm like, what do you mean by that? He's like, I've created a lot of people that have become millionaires in my program, and I know you were a millionaire prior to being in my program. But he says the hardest people to coach are healthcare providers.
Huh.
I said, why is that? He said, because um, there's so much to lose with something that you spent so much time to gain.
Interesting.
Uh,
So true.
and it says, you you have to let go of everything you worked so hard to get. And it's so funny. It's like everybody's griping and complaining. Oh my gosh, we can't do this, we can't do that. The AOTA is not giving us this, the APTA is not doing this work, da 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 da. But then in the same token, they're like, you tell them to do something, and they're like, oh my gosh, but is that okay for my licensure? The licensure is the thing that you're saying is a limiter. The licensure is your limiter, but you're trying to hold on to your limitations.
Right.
And guess what? Whatever you want to hold on to, you get to keep it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that, and so it's much easier. It's much easier to coach uneducated people than it is to coach people that have spent so much money and time acquiring titles that have now become their idols.
Mhm.
And so now, in order for you to make lots of money, you have to let go of what the title said you can or can't do. And it's
Yeah.
very difficult when you've put so much into it. It's hard.
Well, let's talk about money a little bit. And, I'm a pediatric provider, and I think that your world is starting to really open up to especially peds OTs, I would say. You're seeing more of it. And I don't know what it is about us, but we have this thing against seeing ourselves as valuable and making money.
Right.
So, what would you say to a provider who feels guilty about charging more or creating a program?
Oh, well, you know, I do understand that there is a resentment guilt complex that you have.
Hmm.
So let's talk about it a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, the resentment guilt complex is that you feel guilty with making more money because there's um how should I say this? There's piety in profit. I don't know. For some reason, that's what we think as healthcare professionals. And you feel guilty, but then you're also at the same token resentful. You're resentful to the parents that are burning you out. You love the kids, but you're resentful
Hmm.
and you're harboring this resentment, but you also feel guilty if you charge them more. See, I believe this. I believe that I'm not the nicest guy out there in healthcare, but I've helped the most amount of people for free.
Yeah.
Like, why is that the case? Because I'm the nicest guy? I'm telling you, I'm not the nicest guy. I mean, my family loves me. My kids think I'm pretty cool. My wife, just for some reason, still wants to date
Keeps you
me.
around.
So that works out. But I don't think I'm the nicest guy. There's people nicer than me, but I have money. That's what I have. So I have options. I can take care of it. Like, I couldn't do this in 2010, Stephanie. I like in 2010, 2009, 2008. Like, I couldn't do free live streams at 8 a.m. You want to know what? Because I was seeing patients already.
Right.
So I couldn't do it. Today I can because I'm not. You know what I mean? So I can give more stuff for free. So I think this is the thing that is important for people to understand. When you have money, you have now given yourself the ability to have options. You can use that time, the options, to be able to help people for free, right? So I understand that my work, I understand that there's two levels of work. And I think this is extremely important for any pediatric healthcare provider to just come to terms with this. You have your vocational work and you have avocational work, okay? All right? It is in your best interest. And by the way, you do not have to believe me. You do not have to be brainwashed by me. Just understand that you are brainwashed already. And if you are not happy and you're resentful and you don't have anything in your bank account, it's probably in your best interest to just reprogram yourself so that you can be brainwashed in a different way so that it actually works in your favor. Okay? So here's how this works. This is what I now am brainwashed to believe. I have vocational work and I have avocational work. Vocational work is where I am solving a problem for a group of people, but I'm charging them as high an amount as possible so that I can actually do as little vocational work as possible. Then, with the rest of my time, I can do many things, including avocational work. Avocational work is where I am serving people for free with no strings attached. I cannot do that if I am charging pennies on my vocational work. But that means all I got to do is vocational work. I can't help my church. I can't help the people in my profession. I can't help all the broke people. You know how many broke people that I have worked with for free that have become $50,000, $100,000 clients today? It's only because I did avocational work for them. And they're like, holy crap, this guy helped me for free and helped me do this. What would it look like if I paid him? By the way, that's only probably 10%. The other 90%, I never get paid from them. I don't need that money. So it is in your best interest to figure out what can I get paid for at the highest level with regard to vocational work so that I can do as much avocational work as possible. You're helping a lot less people. I'm not saying you're not going to help anybody, but you're helping a lot less people doing vocational work at not the highest level, which is what you have brainwashed yourself to believe. Stupid. I mean, I'm calling you stupid. I just say what you're thinking is stupid. Okay.
Yeah. Right. Right. So let's shift into, because I know pediatric provider or, clinic owners listening, it's kind of like, well, okay, what do I do? So I've got my one-on-one and reimbursements going down, wages are going up.
Right.
It's just, like you said, you're chasing your tail. So what have you seen other clinics or providers do that might be options? Let's just throw some ideas out there so they can think about it.
Sure. There's four different types of distribution of services that you can do as clinicians. We'll talk about that, and then we'll talk about the value equation. Okay, I think we have to talk about them in unison, and then we can start to just understanding that. Then we can start to throw out ideas. Okay, so let's actually talk about the value equation first. Okay, so the value equation is this: the way you get compensated is based on the perceived value that you're giving to people, right? Okay. I heard this recently from a guy that I used to be in a program with, but he was telling me that he was in Texas and he was at this restaurant. I can't remember the name of the restaurant, but basically the restaurant was charging $1,000 for steaks, and people and that restaurant actually got a contract with the NFL. So at the Super Bowl, they were able to sell those $1,000 steaks as well. Okay. And they had over 250 people buy those steaks at the Super Bowl. Now, the steak itself is about $50. Okay. Like that piece of beef is about $50. But the way that they presented it, the way that they did things, people perceived it valuable enough to pay $1,000 to eat that steak. Okay. So why does that happen? Like what? I don't get that. Okay. So this is what happens. It's called the value equation. Okay. And the value equation works like this. Okay. Result times probability over time times effort. Okay. So if you can increase the result that people want, not what you want, what people want, and you can increase the probability that they're going to get the result, because people are not very confident in themselves, right? Because they have messed up over and over and over again, and other people have let them down, or they've let themselves down. Okay. the higher you can do that, the more valuable it is perceived to them. Okay. And then on the bottom line, there is decreased time and decreased effort. Okay. You can thank Amazon for this,
Yes.
right? Okay. People want things fast and they want things now. People also don't want to work very hard to get things. So if you understand that, and you understand that the more you can make those things happen, increase the result of what it is that they're looking for, increase the probability they're going to get result if they follow your method, and you can decrease the amount of time and decrease the amount of effort, they will pay you more money. So my question to you all pediatric therapists is, are you doing that to the best of your ability right now? The answer is no, you're not. Why? Because if you are treating people and they're coming into your clinic, okay, great, they're seeing you. Let's just say you're amazing and you have been a pediatric therapist for 25 years and whatnot. Okay, that's great. That means that you've increased the result. Fantastic. You've increased the probability because it's you and you've got all these years of experience. You're amazing, but you're still capped. Okay. But what you're not doing is you're not decreasing the time of effort that it's taking, not just for you, but for them. They have to drive to your facility. They got to get the kids ready. They got to come after school. They got to do this. They got to do that.
Take off work. Yeah.
Work early. Okay. You're not decreasing the time and you're not decreasing the effort. Okay. So if you understand that part first, now let's talk about the 4 ways that you can deploy that. The 4 ways are through guidance, you educating people, which I'm sure that's a lot of what you're doing from visit to visit, right? You're educating not only the child, but primarily the parents. Okay. If you can there's certain things that you're wanting them to do at home they're human and they rarely ever do the things you're asking them to do. So if you can give them accountability, I know that there's a higher probability of them doing those things if there's accountability given. If you can create a community so that they don't feel like they're the only parents that are struggling with these things, that you've created a community outside of your clinic, outside of your facility, where these parents feel locked in. They feel like, okay, like I'm not the only one and I can do this because I know you're struggling with this as well. And you've given them tools that they can use outside of your facility that can actually help them with the problems that their child is having. If you understand those 4 things and you also understand the value equation, now let's start to come up with things that we can do. Okay. Yeah. What are some of those things? Well, let's think about guidance. I know this. I know that if you tell me something once, I'm slow. Okay, I will admit I'm a slow dude. I was just telling my wife this last week. I was like, "Girl, you got to tell me something 4 or 5 times." She's like, "This is because you're a man." I said, "No, baby, it's because I'm slow. I'm slow." And that I actually said that's why I'm a damn good teacher. I'm a really good teacher because I need to hear it over and over and over again. It's no different than when a client and a parent and a kid is coming into your facility. You think just because you tell them one time because you're an expert, they get it? Okay, so what type of thing do you have that is guidance-based to where, yes, I said it there in the clinic, but now you can go here and you can refer back to the things that I talked about, because for me, I need to hear it repeatedly over and over and over again in order for it to sink into my psyche. So what are you doing?
Right.
You guys have an online portal? Or of the frequently asked questions from that first session? Are you having an online portal of the things that we just went through, of the sensor integration techniques that we did and things that they can do at home? Like, do you have that? Here, can I tell you a quick story?
Yeah.
It was a $13,000 mistake. Okay. So
this is just a little one.
Okay. In 2018, I moved to Indian Rocks Beach. Okay. And this is kind of like this is when we decided, okay, we're going to start homeschooling the kids. And we decided to buy our dream home, right? So we bought our dream home in 2018, and it's right on the intercoastal of Clearwater Bay. And the first thing I wanted to do is I wanted to buy a jet ski. Okay, so that's what I did. The next weekend, me and my oldest son at the time, I think he was 9, right? We went to this place called Cycle Springs. And we went and we bought a VX 1000 Yamaha jet ski. So excited. We brought it home. Well, the guy brought it on the trailer. He brought it there. And then the guy was there, right? He's in my driveway and he's explaining the whole thing of the jet ski. He's like, okay, this is what happens here. This is what happens here. This is what happens. Da, 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 da. It's so simple. He was like, it's so simple. And I'm just like, okay, all right. Okay. And he's like,
where did I turn it on?
Yeah, exactly. And then he's like, okay, if you want to flush it out, you do this, you turn this on, and then you put the hose thing, you put the spigot, blah, 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 blah. I was like, okay, oh crap. And then I realized, I should probably be recording this. So I said, RJ, go get my phone so I can record this. Well, I recorded the second half of it. I didn't record the first half of it. So here's what happened. This is on a Friday. Sunday, it's the first day I had the guts now to get the jet ski, to put it on the trailer, which I didn't even really know how to use, but I was able to get it. It didn't float away. And I was able to get the jet ski, and I took it out. Like, oh my God, this is so amazing. Right. And then I brought it back on, and okay. So now I was trying to remember, well, how do you flush this thing out? What did he say? Do I do this first or do that first? And I went back and I said, let me go look at the video that I recorded. Mm-hmm. And I didn't record that part. So I said, okay, I think I just turn on the water and I just put it in the engine, and that's it. And I did it. And guess what? I flooded the jet ski. It's over. Jet ski.
You ruined it? Ruined it?
Ruined it.
Oh my gosh.
I ruined it. I ruined it. Now, I know that's a very dramatic story. It's true. But you know how cool it would have been if there was a video?
Yeah.
That I could have just referred back to, because I don't know, some of us don't have 25 years of experience working with integration kids.
Yeah.
And we don't know this stuff. No, nice would be to have a video that I could refer back to on the things that we just did. Mm-hmm. Would have saved me $13,000.
Yeah.
So are you guys doing that?
Well, I mean, I don't think everybody is. I think there's this, I don't know, the stigma that you don't want to tell somebody like 3 times because you don't want to insult their intelligence. But everybody knows that it takes people at least you've got to hear it 7 times before you it registers.
Yeah. And you have a responsibility to let people know just that right there, Stephanie. Hey, listen, I know this. I know we went over a lot, and I know you get it, but typically what happens is you get home and, oh my gosh, wait, this, that, da, da, da. I want to be with you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Mm-hmm. Like, I want to be with you 24 hours. I want to be a therapist, not just when you're here on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, whatever. I want to be with you when you need me. And so that's the reason why I created this. Okay. Mm-hmm. So the things that we just went over today, this is where it is in a portal. And I want here, let's actually review it right now. Here, look, do you know how much more value you would be bringing to
huge.
You do that one time, you set the video one time, and then now you have an asset, something that builds over and over and over again. When people now see that as, wow, this is valuable. Now you're training them and indoctrinating them that what I'm going to give you outside of here is actually going to be so valuable. So now people want that. And that's one way that you all could give value. And I'm just talking about one, that's guidance.
That's one.
Only guidance. That's only guidance. Okay. All right. So that's a huge part of what I have my clients do, is just create something that you're already saying anyways. Just understand that just because you said it one time doesn't mean people are getting it. Okay. So that's one. All right. Number 2 is accountability. Like, accountability. Like, everybody has good intentions.
They do.
Intentions are good, but just because intentions are good doesn't mean people are going to do it. Right. Like, I want to do it. If I tell you, hey, I really want to, sometimes I just forget.
Yeah.
I just forget. Right.
You're human.
That's it. I'm human. So can you remind me of something that you know that I intend to do? Right. That makes it more valuable. So are you doing that? Are you reminding parents on a daily basis, a bi-weekly basis, a tri-weekly basis on the things that you know that they want to do because they want their child to not struggle with it? But are you reminding them? Or are you just thinking that everything else in their life, their job shouldn't matter, their other aspects of life, the marriage that's struggling shouldn't matter. All that should matter is what this occupational therapist, this physical therapist told them. You're delusional. You're totally delusional, yes. Right? So it's not that I don't want to do it. I just forget to do it. And if you give me reminders, it would make me feel like you're actually with me.
Right.
So to me, sometimes is it just that we don't want to empower people because we're so scared that we have nothing else to bring of value? Well, then you're not thinking.
Yeah.
You're not even allowing yourself to be able to bring more value to the marketplace. Right. So that's number 2. Is there ways you can do that? Okay. All right. Number 3 is community. Right. I know that when people would say that they come to my clinic, I remember this. I remember a lady, she was coming to my facility, and I think she stayed, initially she was kind of a pain in the butt, right? But she ended up staying. She ended up staying with us for like 6-7 weeks. And then what we do at the end is we always offer our membership programs. This is back in like 2013, 2014. So she ended up staying in our membership program. She stayed for 9 months. 9 months. Okay. Now here's the crazy part. Ready? Stayed for 9 months. So she ended up being with us for nearly a year. Okay. It was like close to 11 months. She stayed with our facility, and then she moved. Okay. So this is a year later. A year later, this lady comes into the clinic and she says, it's okay. And she told us a story. And the story was that she was being abused at home. She was being abused at home. And she said that your facility, your community, and I'm telling you this because this actually is what really catapulted me to go all in on, community. She says that for that hour and a half, and she actually said to me, I want to apologize because I know that first 2 times I was like really, really, rough on you. You were just so gentle and just your joking way. She says, I was struggling. She says, I was actually in an abusive relationship. And the hour and a half that I was with you was my safe space. And you had this amazing community. And I felt like everything was okay during that time. And I ended up going into your membership program. And actually, I didn't even tell my husband at the time that I was in it because that was money that he didn't want us to spend, But during that time, you had given me the power and the encouragement to make a move. So she doesn't live in Florida anymore, but she was able to get out of that relationship. And it was not just me. I wasn't the only one seeing her, but I was the one that started her. And that community helped to change her life in many other ways. And one of the things I've realized is this: people come to you. She didn't come there for community. She came there because she had an actual physical ailment. And so we as physical therapists had the ability to solve that problem through our knowledge, our technique, our expertise. She stayed for community. So if you all are struggling with, oh my gosh, insurance reimbursement's so terrible, they're not allowing us to see people along anymore. Please understand this. Please understand that people will pay for whatever they perceive valuable. And what people initially perceive valuable is not the thing that makes them stay. And Stephanie, you're probably seeing this in my community, right? Most people come in because they're like, this guy knows his stuff. I want to learn from him. He knows what he's doing. I will pay him money and I'll work with him and his team because they know what they're doing. People stay because after a while, it's like, I'm not just trying to entertain y'all and just here's some new stuff. Look, these are the things you got to do. Why do people stay year over year over year? They stay because of the community. They stay because of community. So if you guys don't have community, you're just telling people, I really don't have any value to give you after our transaction. You're too transactional with what it is that you're doing. You're not relational. Relational is what pays long term. Okay. Yeah. All right. And then the last thing is tools. What tools can people use that's going to increase the probability, decrease the time of them having to come to you? And tools usually don't require you. And so these are all ways that you can make more money, but you got to start using your brain and stop putting on your Humana brain and your Cigna brain and your TRICARE brain and your Medicaid brain. You gotta actually shut those off and use your actual brain to start looking at what are the problems that people have and what are the solutions that I can provide. There's no excuse.
No, and I think, that's just it. You have to embrace the problems because your problem is what you need to come up with a solution for. And sometimes we as clinic owners get so tired of what we call the fires. Every day there's a fire. Well, what are those fires and how can I solve that? For families.
That's what happens when you're fit. But you got to use that physical exhaustion to your vantage point now. Okay. And I just usually see people that will work with me. They just hit their rock bottom. Like, I just physically cannot do this anymore. Yeah. And then you're like, okay, I got to do something. So use that to your advantage, use that to your advantage. But there's so many ways you can help people and people are looking for it. And what people want right now is people want something different. Everybody knows
Mm-hmm.
that the healthcare way that we have right now it's total trash. Everybody
Right.
knows that, right? But what people are looking for is people are looking for solutions. They're looking for solutions in different ways that will work for them. And you have a responsibility to do that for people. And if you don't, then
Mm-hmm.
really that's on you.
Mm-hmm. So part of that is getting out in front of people. And that's kind of my next question of what would you say to someone that's like, who am I to, I don't have the expertise for this, or I don't have the confidence for this. Who am I to do this?
Who are you not to do it? I mean, I don't know.
Mm.
I mean,
Yeah.
like, okay, so if you don't do it, who's going to do it?
Who's going to do it? Yeah.
So who's going to do it? Right. I can tell you this. I can tell you that there are people that are less qualified than you, and they're less qualified than you that are impacting more people than
Mm-hmm.
you are. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I can tell you. I can tell you right
Mm-hmm.
now that you can go on TikTok, you can go on Instagram, and there are more people that are helping the people that you should be helping, and they're giving out misinformation according to you. They're giving all this misinformation, but they have courage and you don't.
Yeah.
Okay. And it doesn't take more money to make money. It takes courage to make money. So
Mm-hmm.
again, whoever told you that you weren't enough, just understand that you were brainwashed for many years of people telling you that. Okay. I'm just presenting to you that it's probably in your best interest to unwash that wash, and let's create a new detergent in your brain. Okay. And let's just brainwash you in another way. You are capable. You are enough today. You are made by the creator, and the creator made you to create things and made you in his image to make things as well. And so you have the ability to do that. Okay. You have many stories, you have a lot of experience, and it might be something different than you're used to doing, but you have the base knowledge and the base experiences to be able to help people in a different way. And
Mm-hmm.
so you have to believe that, and I mean, like, I can only do so much. Like you've got to
Yeah.
believe that deep down. And at some point I did believe deep down that I did have, like, I was enough for what I needed to do right now.
Mm-hmm.
I would have never thought that this would have happened, but what I did realize is that whatever path I was on, I was enough for where I was, and I could make another step forward. And so I think sometimes we got to be careful not to look 16 steps ahead. Like, what can I do right now? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what can I do right now? Okay. And then let me go do that. And then, okay, well, what do I need to do next? Okay. And then what can I
Yeah.
do now? Right. So if you're listening to this and you've gotten to this point of the podcast, you're here for a reason. And, I believe that if you are willing, that means that you're truly interested in making your life better. Go do something. I said, I don't remember
Yeah.
what I said, but it's got to be something I said.
Oh, that's awesome. And I was going to ask you, what would you say to someone that feels stuck, but you just completely answered it? Just get out of your own way. Just take one step forward.
And like, what choice do you have anyways? Here,
Right.
can I finish off with this though?
Yeah, please.
I was just telling this to people in my free advocational group. I was actually talking to while I was on vacation with my wife last week, because I want to, not because I have to, it's because I wanted to. I was talking about this sermon that I heard from a pastor. His name is Keon Henderson. And he was talking about being in a transition. Okay. It's talking about being in a transition. I want to tell you, it's so crazy. Stephanie, you remember those Polaroid disposable?
Oh, yeah.
Used to go to like the theme parks and Disney World and food, take the kids. Okay. So do you know, like, obviously those things aren't around, like they're not a big thing anymore. Right.
Right.
But do you know that in every sector, every field, things change, right? They change. And what I said in the video, in the group, is I said, look, I'm in a transition. And I think a lot of people clicked on the video because they're like, oh my gosh, is GT quitting? Is GT done? Is he retiring? Da, da, da.
Yeah.
No, I said, I'm in a transition. And I had to explain to people, this is what a transition looks like. Transition is when you are on a bridge from where you used to be to where you see things are going. Okay. So let me give you the quick story with regards to those Polaroid disposable cameras. They saw that they had these plastic cameras. They also had this lens film, and they said, look, I realize that things are going away from these cameras. because now we have these things called smartphones, and these things have cameras in them. But I was like, what can we do today? And they said, let's go on a transition. You want to know what they did? They started taking the film from these disposable cameras and they turned it into a brand new company. And they said, we're going to turn this into a company where that film is going to be used for glasses. That company is now called Oakley.
Jeez.
That's called being in a transition. Conversely, by the way, that's what I'm advising every single one of you right now that's listening to this to do, to get on the bridge. I understand it's a little rickety. I understand it's a little scary. It might even feel a little Indiana Jones-ish, okay? But get on the damn bridge and start to transition, okay? Conversely, no problem. You don't want to transition? Okay, let's talk about another story. Then it ends so well. On a Friday night, when we finished for the week, whether it was school, etc., my family, if we had the money, would go to this place called Blockbuster Video. We'd go to Blockbuster Video, and like you would see your friends, you'd see their families there, and everybody's looking for okay, what movie can we get? This, that, that. They were untouchable. They were untouchable. Okay, and Blockbuster Video had technology to move to something called streaming, but they didn't. They had the technology before this company called Netflix had it.
Yeah.
And they didn't move because they're like, well, it's working good enough. And then guess what happens? They start to see that the margins are getting tighter, starting to see that things are getting harder. And their CEO, Wayne Huizenga, who I know because he is the former owner of the Miami Dolphins, okay, Wayne Huizenga said, we're not going to change. Netflix came in and said, hey, we will actually team up with you and we can bring everybody in to do this change. Nope, we're not going to change. We're not going to change. We're not going to change. We're not going to. They had the technology before Netflix. Netflix came in and said, if you just take this thing, we'll do it. And then Netflix said, okay, forget it. Let's just go and do this thing ourselves. Now look at where we're at.
Yeah. They're kicking themselves.
You can be the man. You can be the big, bad mammoth, and you will still go down if you're not willing to be in transition. For us as healthcare providers, we are so resistant to transition that now it's blowing up in our faces. It's in your best interest to get on the damn bridge and start to transition. I know the bridge is rickety. I know it's scary, but the option is not to go on the bridge, and we already know what's going to happen.
Right, right. Well, tell us where people can find you, or if you have a free challenge going on. I know you're always doing challenges.
Yeah, so what I do is every quarter, I usually do a 5-day event. In that 5-day event, I will basically help you get going, like get started. I get people.
That's where I met you. Yeah.
Yep, that's where you met me. And that is my advocacy work. At the end of the event, that's the one event that I do. I do it a few times a year where it's advocacy, but it's also vocational. At the end of it, I say, hey, whoever wants to work with me, you can work with me for the next usually 6 to 8 weeks. And sometimes it involves actually flying in to come work with me and my team here. So I do that event. I just finished one, so I'm not going to do that again until I think it's June, July. But you can go to smartsuccesshealthcare.com. You can buy replays. You can go. There's a lot of free stuff on there. Or reach out to. You'll see a way to be able to reach out to us. And if you need help, then great. If not, just go to my free groups, Success Community. It's on Facebook for healthcare professionals. And, I show up, a few times a week and just help people out. And I just want to see you guys win.
You truly do. You truly do.
I really do. Because here's the deal, Stephanie. I'm an immigrant kid. My parents brought me here from Jamaica when I was 5 months old. We don't come from anything. I just feel so blessed that today I'm I guess a multimillionaire is what they say. And I'm like, it's like, if I could do, anybody can do it. I just believe that. And I believe that the struggles and the health stuff is what kind of catapulted me to use an area that I wasn't accessing before. Yeah. But I just believe everybody can do it. And without healthcare, without physical therapy, I don't think I would have had this opportunity. So it does break my heart to see people struggling so much. And I don't want them to have to go through what I went through in order for them to figure it out. So yeah, I'm going to continue to do this until I can't anymore. So that's it.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you, everything you do for our community, and I thank you for being on the podcast.
You got it. Thank you. I appreciate you, and I'm proud of what you're doing as well.
Thank you.